Corel Font Manager lets you easily handle, organize, and explore your typeface and font collections by giving you tools to control every aspect of your typography workflow. You can find and preview fonts, install and uninstall fonts, and delete fonts that you no longer need. Corel Font Manager is a standalone application that can either be started as any other program or from within CorelDRAW using the application launcher. Let's start by walking through the Font Manager interface. On the left, we have the Libraries pane. This lists available font libraries, such as added folders in your collections, and lets you filter fonts. You can use the toolbar buttons at the top of the Libraries pane to add and remove folders and collections. The Preview pane lets you preview fonts by using preset and custom text. You can use the toolbar buttons at the top of the Preview pane to install, uninstall, download, and delete fonts, as well as to show duplicate font versions. Finally, the Properties panel lets you view glyph sets and displays information about the font or font family. You can also view and adjust the properties of variable fonts. When you click a font library, its fonts are displayed in the Preview pane. Fonts appear organized in font families. Visual indicators are used to help you identify the status of each font in the Preview pane. In addition, you can point to a font for additional information. Fonts marked green indicate a font or font family that has been installed. A green bar with a padlock indicates a protected system font, or a font family composed entirely of protected fonts. Any fonts marked yellow have not yet been installed. However, they are available for use in CorelDRAW and can be used in exactly the same way as an install font. Not having to install fonts in order to use them in CorelDRAW keeps your system clean and free of clutter. Remember, too, that having too many fonts installed will result in a slower system. Fonts marked gray indicate a font family containing fonts of various states, meaning this family has a mix of installed and not yet installed fonts. Finally, a white bar indicates an online font that hasn't been downloaded or installed yet. Online fonts can be downloaded, but as with other fonts on our system, don't have to be installed to be used in CorelDRAW. Browsing and searching for fonts. You can browse for fonts, and you can search for fonts by using keywords that include font names, font technology, manufacturer, and other font metadata. When you start typing a font name or another keyword, a relevant list of fonts is displayed. This list is automatically updated as you type. To refine your search, you can type 2 or more keywords. For example, to find all available Arial fonts that have bold weight, you can type Arial bold in the search box. To browse for fonts, in the Libraries pane, click a library in one of the following areas. Folders to display fonts that reside in an added folder. Or My Collections to display fonts that you group together based on use in a project or other criteria. If you want to purchase additional fonts, you can do this from within Corel Font Manager. To acquire a font pack, click the Get More button. In the Get More dialog box, click a font pack. Do one of the following. Click Buy Now and follow the on-screen instructions to purchase the font pack. Click Download if the font pack is free. The downloaded pack will appear under My Collections. Corel Font Manager will allow you to filter all of the fonts on your system, installed or not, to help you find fonts that meet specific requirements. For example, you can display only TrueType fonts, only TrueType symbol fonts, or only TrueType symbol fonts that are installed on your computer. You can filter fonts based on the font technology, weight, width, style, supportive languages, open type features, and more. And you can apply one or more filters at the same time. In the Filters area of the Libraries pane, open a filter category and enable one or more filters. Font status filters fonts based on their status, such as installed, not installed, protected system fonts, duplicates, or downloaded. Embedding rights lets you filter fonts based on their embedding rights, such as editable, installable, no embedding, or preview and print. Font technology lets you filter fonts based on the font technology, such as OpenType, TrueType, OpenType PostScript, TrueType, and variable fonts. Weight will display fonts based on their weight, such as light, regular, or bold. Width displays fonts based on their width, such as condensed, normal, and expanded. Style lets you search for fonts with a particular look or style. Character range filters fonts based on their language or script. Finally, OpenType. This lets you display fonts that have specific OpenType features, such as capital spacing, case-sensitive forms, and more. To clear all filters, click the Remove Filters button. Installing, uninstalling, and deleting fonts. Corel Font Manager lets you install and uninstall single or multiple fonts, as well as entire font families. You can delete fonts that you no longer need to prevent cluttering up your system. Fonts that are used by the operating system are protected and cannot be uninstalled or deleted. Fonts that are being used by other applications cannot be uninstalled or deleted before you close the applications or restart your computer. To install a font, click the font in the preview pane and click the Install button on the toolbar. You can also install a font by right-clicking it and clicking Install. The yellow vertical bar appearing on the right side of the fonts will change to green once it has been installed. If you want to install multiple fonts, first select them by clicking them while holding down Ctrl or Shift. When you install a font from a local or network folder, the font is copied to the Windows Fonts folder. The Details pane shows the file path for the installed font. Repeat the same steps to uninstall a font. The green indicator will revert back to yellow. After you uninstall a font that resides both in a font folder and in the Windows Fonts folder, a font copy remains in the Windows Fonts folder. You can use folders and collections to organize and access your fonts. Folders let you easily access and monitor fonts that reside in the same folder. To add a folder, from within Corel Font Manager, you need to browse to a folder containing fonts on your computer. The folder then appears in the Libraries pane. The default folder in Corel Font Manager is called My Fonts. It includes all installed Windows fonts, plus all fonts in your added folders. Every activity in a monitored folder, for example, adding or deleting files, requires a rebuild of the font database. Frequent changes result in constant updates to the font database, which prevents effective monitoring and causes performance issues, so it's recommended to monitor folders that contain only font files. An important advantage of adding folders to Corel Font Manager is that you can check for duplicate versions of a font. Click the Add Folder button on the toolbar. In the Add Folder dialog box, browse to the folder that stores the fonts and click Select Folder. When you add nested folders, only the top-level folder appears in the Libraries pane. If an added folder contains fonts that are not installed, you can use those fonts in CorelDRAW without having to install them. When you change a folder that you added as a library by adding or removing fonts, on relaunching Font Manager, the font list will be updated. Collections are ideal for easy access to fonts that reside in different folders. For example, you can create a collection that includes all the fonts used in a project. You can also create collections that reflect a certain style or theme, such as Art Deco, comics, Gothic, sci-fi, etc. You do not need to copy the fonts to the same location to create a collection, which helps prevent duplicating font files on your computer. You can rename collections to give them meaningful names. To create a collection, click the Add Collection button on the toolbar. The collection appears below the last collection. Type the collection name. Click a folder or another collection in the Libraries pane. Drag one or more fonts from the Preview pane to the collection. To add an entire font family, drag the font family header to the collection. You can also add a font to a collection by right-clicking the font in the Preview pane, clicking Add to Collection, and clicking the collection. To find specific types of fonts for your collection, select My Fonts, and using the filters, refine the list of fonts, and then drag these to the new collection. To remove a font from a collection, right-click the font and click Remove from Collection. You can also import and export folders and collections, which makes it easy to share them or use them in another version of the software. If you no longer need a folder or collection, you can remove it. To remove a folder or collection, click a folder or collection in the Libraries pane. Click the Remove button on the toolbar. Note: removing a folder or collection does not delete the fonts in it. If you've created multiple watched folders and fonts collections, it makes sense to export them. The XML file created can be then used in another license of the software, saving you the time and effort of recreating them. To export folders and collections, click File, Export Folders and Collections. Choose the folder where you want to save the XML file. Type a file name in the file name box. To import folders and collections, click File, Import Folders and Collections. Navigate to the XML file that contains the folders and collections you want to import. Click the file and click Open. If fonts are missing from some of the imported folders and collections, a warning appears identifying the affected folders as well as the missing fonts in the affected collections. Previewing fonts. By default, each font name appears rendered in the preview pane by using its respective font. You can also preview a font in other preset text, such as complete alphabet sets, numbers, and a pangram. A pangram is a sentence that uses each letter of an alphabet at least once. In addition, you can preview local fonts by typing your own text. Glyph sets. You can also view the glyphs of a font. You can choose to view the entire glyph set of a font, or you can apply filters to display only a subset. To view the glyphs of a font, click the font in the preview pane. Click the Glyph Set button on the toolbar. If the Glyph Set button is not displayed, click the Show Font Properties button to display the Properties pane. As OpenType fonts can contain up to 65,000 characters, it's really useful to be able to filter and search for specific types of glyphs. Filters are organized in the following categories. Common includes arrows, currency, mathematical symbols, numbers, punctuation marks, and separators, as well as CJK symbols and punctuation marks, used in Asian scripts. Scripts includes the scripts that the selected font supports. OpenType includes the OpenType features provided by the selected font, such as standard ligatures, discretionary ligatures, fraction, alternate annotation forms, and more. You can change the glyph size to display more or fewer glyphs. Each selected glyph appears against a set of blue lines that let you preview its position in relation to the text baseline. Font information. You can view available information about the font or font family in the Properties pane. Font information includes font family, weight, width, embedding rights, manufacturer, copyright, and more. To view font information, click the font in the preview pane. Click the Details button on the toolbar. To view information about a font family, click the Font Family header in the preview pane. Only details that are common for all fonts in the family are displayed in the Properties pane. Online fonts. Corel Font Manager lets you access online fonts from the Google Fonts library, which includes hundreds of free and open-source fonts. You can browse, search, filter, and preview online fonts as you would local fonts or fonts that reside in network folders. When you find an online font you like, you can install it, or you can download it to use later. To access online fonts in the Libraries pane, click Google Fonts. Search or browse to find the font that you want. Select the font in the preview pane and click the Download button on the toolbar. You can also download an online font by right-clicking it and clicking Download. Google Fonts are installed and downloaded as OpenType or TrueType fonts, so that you can use them in your CorelDRAW, Corel Designer, and Corel Photo Paint documents. After downloading or installing an online font, you can view its glyph set. Variable fonts. Corel Font Manager supports variable OpenType fonts. A variable font can include an entire font family in a single font file, giving you access to an array of weights, widths, and styles. Variable fonts are identified by this icon. To find variable fonts quickly, you can use the Variable Fonts filter. To view and adjust the properties of a variable font, select a variable font in the Preview pane. Click the Show Font Properties button to show the Properties pane. Click the Variable Fonts button in the Properties pane. Move the sliders to adjust any of the available font properties. Managing duplicate fonts. Your folders or collections may contain duplicate versions of the same font. For example, you can have two identical fonts that vary only by version. Duplicate fonts are identified with a badge. By default, the Preview pane shows only one font for each group of duplicate fonts. For example, when a font is installed and has duplicates that are not installed, only the installed version is shown. However, you can show all duplicate fonts and then delete the versions you do not need. Only one duplicate version can be installed at a time for each group of duplicate fonts. To display only the duplicate fonts in a folder or collection, you can apply the Duplicates filter from the Font Status filter category. To show duplicate fonts, click a folder or collection in the Libraries pane. Click the Show Duplicate Fonts button on the toolbar. To hide duplicate fonts, click the same button. To show only duplicate fonts, click a folder or collection in the Libraries pane. In the Font Filters area, enable the Duplicates checkbox. As with CorelDRAW, you can also customize the UI of Corel Font Manager. Click the Options button on the title bar and under Appearance, adjust the size, theme, and window border colors. Restoring default settings and resetting the font database. You can restore Corel Font Manager to its default settings, reverting to the default look of the workspace. This action resets the controls, restores the default size of the panes, and removes all filters. Corel Font Manager checks what fonts are installed on your computer and generates a font database with keywords. The font database is updated as you add folders and collections. If you are experiencing performance issues, you can reset the font database to delete it and have it regenerated from scratch. To reset the font database, exit the application. Start the application while holding down F8. In the Restore Default Settings dialog box, enable the Font Database checkbox. Resetting the font database is not recommended unless in rare cases when you may be experiencing performance issues. This action removes all font folders and collections you added to the Libraries pane of the application, but does not delete any font files. Corel Font Manager and the main graphics suite applications. Corel Font Manager makes it easier to work with fonts in CorelDRAW and Corel Photo Paint. When you add folders and create collections, all their fonts, including fonts that are not installed, become accessible from the Font List box in CorelDRAW and Corel Photo Paint. Thus, you can use fonts that are not installed in your drawings and documents. Any collections that you create appear as font filters in the Font List box of the main applications. You can filter fonts to show only the fonts included in specific collections.